The footage wasn't supposed to exist. Shot from 200 yards away, shaky, caught through the wet glass of a Georgia morning. Just a man, a golf club, and a silence so heavy it could crush you. No crew. No cameras from the tour. No entourage hovering at the edges. Just Tiger Woods, alone, hitting the same shot over and over in the gray pre-dawn, his breath fogging in the cold like smoke from a fire that refused to go out. Vanessa had seen thousands of videos. She'd watched every documented training session, every slow-motion analysis, every frame the internet had ever offered her of the man's mechanics. But this one was different. This was the 37th time she had watched it that week. She knew because she'd counted. Her coffee had gone cold again. Her phone battery at 11%. Again. She almost didn't stop it when it froze at the 4-minute mark. But then she did. She leaned forward. And something in her chest cracked open. Not the dramatic kind. Not the kind that comes from headlines. The quiet kind. The kind that comes just before you understand something you can never unknow. This is that story. Before we go further, if stories like this one find something real inside you, you belong here. Hit subscribe. This channel exists for the people who feel too much when they watch sports. You know who you are. Vanessa Morales-Chin was 34 years old, living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Columbus, Ohio, working a job in HR that she described to friends as fine, in the tone of someone describing a slow leak in their kitchen ceiling. She wasn't a golf fan. Not technically. She hadn't grown up watching tournaments with her father the way some people describe it. Those golden light, Saturday afternoon memories where the sport seeps into your blood like a family inheritance. She had stumbled on a Tiger Woods the same way most people her age stumbled onto anything, an algorithm. A YouTube recommendation at 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday in February, 2 months before the Masters. The video was titled simply, Tiger Woods hits balls alone at dusk. No commentary, no music, just 9.5 minutes of one man and a driving range in Florida. She clicked it because she couldn't sleep. She didn't leave for an hour. There's something about watching someone do what they were born to do. Really watching, not passively absorbing. That makes you confront your own life in the most uncomfortable ways. Vanessa wouldn't have described it that way at the time. She would have said she just found it calming. Meditative, even. But we all know that word calming sometimes means something else. Sometimes it means, this is showing me something I don't know how to name yet. By the end of February, she had watched over 40 hours of Tiger Woods footage. Training compilations, press conferences, the 2019 Masters win, which she watched 3 times in full, the last time with tears on her face that she hadn't anticipated and didn't entirely understand. She watched the 2021 car crash coverage and felt sick in the same way you feel sick when something terrible happens to someone you care about, even though she had never met him. If you've ever found yourself completely absorbed in someone else's story, someone you've never met, someone whose world feels nothing like yours, drop a comment below. Tell me what it was. Because I think more of us have done this than we admit. March arrived, and Vanessa started waking up earlier. Not intentionally at first. Her body just started adjusting to the Masters countdown the way some people's bodies adjust to a coming storm. She began reading. Golf Digest. Analysis, threads on Reddit. Long-form pieces by sports writers who describe Tiger's preparation for Augusta with the reverence usually reserved for war generals or mountain climbers. She started learning what lag was, what the draw and fade meant. She learned what Augusta National's back nine had done to the psychologies of hundreds of the world's greatest players, and she began to understand, truly understand, what Tiger was attempting. By mid-March, Vanessa had a routine. She would wake at 5:45, make coffee, and watch at least one Tiger training video before work. She told herself it was just habit, the way some people watch the news or listen to a podcast. Routine. Harmless. Motivating, even. She'd started walking more. Had signed up for a tennis clinic, which she had not yet attended but had paid for, which felt like a start. Then, on a Tuesday in the 3rd week of March, a gray, forgettable Tuesday, she found the video. It had 4,200 views. On YouTube, for Tiger Woods content, that's essentially invisible. The thumbnail was blurry. The title said only, TW Augusta, early March. No channel with a following. Just an upload from an account that had posted 3 other videos. All of them 40-second clips of birds at a feeder in what appeared to be rural Georgia. She almost didn't click it, but she did. The video was 11 minutes long. shot from a distance, through what looked like a wire fence obscured by trees. The camera wobbled slightly, phone footage, handheld, the kind your hands make when you're trying not to be seen. And there was Tiger, on what appeared to be a private practice area near Augusta. Alone. No coach visible. No caddies. Just him. He wasn't hitting for distance. He wasn't running through technical drills. He was hitting one shot, the same approach shot, over and over, to the same spot on a simulated green. And between each shot, he would stand still, completely still, for sometimes 30 seconds, sometimes longer, just standing there with the club at his side, looking at the landing zone, not moving. Vanessa watched this for 4 minutes before she realized she hadn't breathed properly. At the 4-minute mark, something happened that changed everything. Tiger missed the shot. Not by much, a foot, maybe 18 inches off his target. In golf terms, for most humans, that is an extraordinary shot. But he stood there looking at it. And Vanessa had to rewind 3 times to make sure she was seeing it correctly. He put the club down in the grass. He didn't lean it against anything. He set it flat on the ground, deliberately, carefully, like he was laying something to rest. And then he stood up straight, tilted his head back, and looked at the sky. He stood like that for almost a minute. In the cold. Alone. Just looking up. The person filming didn't move. The birds didn't make a sound. And Vanessa, in her apartment in Columbus at 6:23 in the morning, felt something break open in her chest that she still, months later, struggles to describe. She said later, "It wasn't sadness exactly. It wasn't pity. It was more like, I recognized it. I knew what that looked like. Standing somewhere, having tried your hardest, coming up short by a little bit, and just needing a moment to look up. I'd done that. In my bathroom. In my car in parking lots. I knew that face, except I'd never seen it on someone the world considered invincible." That's the thing about Tiger Woods that most sports coverage gets completely wrong. The narrative around him has always been armored. Machine. Robot. Legend. Ruthless competitor who feels no pain, who has no ceiling, who is engineered rather than born. We put him in a category that excuses us from identifying with him. Because if Tiger can struggle, really struggle, privately, humanly, then our own struggles mean something too. And that's a vulnerable place to live. What do you think? Did you ever see Tiger Woods as human before? Or was he always something else to you? I'm genuinely curious what you'd say. The back half of Vanessa's obsession isn't about Tiger at all. That's the part nobody talks about when they describe being a fan of something. The point where the story you're watching stops being about them and becomes entirely about you. She started going back through her own life the way you flip through old photographs, not looking for anything specific, just looking. She thought about the things she'd set down in the grass and then never picked back up. The graphic design degree she'd abandoned halfway through for something more stable. The novel she had 15,000 words of, sitting in a folder on her desktop labeled "Don't Open This." The relationship she'd left not because it was bad, but because she was afraid of how much she wanted it to be good. She had been managing her life the way an amateur manages a difficult golf course, playing it safe, keeping it in the fairway, never going for the shot that could win or destroy everything. And here was this man on her screen, 50 years old, body rebuilt from catastrophe, standing on a private field in Georgia in the cold, alone, asking more of himself than anyone watching could fully comprehend. And missing, and setting the club down, and looking up. And then, this is the part she hadn't gotten to yet, because she'd kept rewinding the first part, picking the club back up, walking back to position, and hitting the shot again. She didn't watch the rest of the video that first morning. She went to work. She sat through her HR meetings. She answered emails. She went home. She made dinner. And then she opened her laptop, found the folder labeled "Don't Open This," and read every word she'd written. Every 15,000 of them. In one sitting. She didn't decide anything that night. She just read. But something had shifted. The way tectonic plates shift, you don't feel the moment it happens, but you feel everything that comes after. In the weeks leading up to the Masters, Vanessa finally watched the rest of the video. Tiger picked the club back up. He hit the shot again. This time it landed 8 inches from the target. He stood looking at it. And then something extraordinary happened. He smiled. Not the press conference smile. Not the fist pump moment smile. A quiet, private smile. The kind you make when something works and no one is watching. The truest kind. She screenshotted it, which feels strange to admit, but she did. She set it as the background on her work computer. Her coworker Sarah asked who it was, and Vanessa said, "Someone I've been watching," and didn't elaborate, and Sarah somehow understood that this wasn't a conversation for the break room. The Masters began on a Thursday in April. Vanessa took 2 days of PTO she'd been hoarding for 2 years. She watched every minute. She watched Tiger move through Augusta with a crowd around him that bordered on religious. People who hadn't come just to watch golf, but to witness something. To be close to whatever energy a person generates when they have been broken and rebuilt and broken again and are still, somehow, here. Still swinging. Tiger didn't win. That's not the ending of this story. He finished tied for 42nd, which is the kind of result that would have felt like failure at another point in his career and which felt like something far more complicated now. He walked off the course on the final day with that same face Vanessa had seen in the video, quiet, processing, somewhere private in his own head. She cried. She's not embarrassed about it. She cried because the story she'd needed to watch wasn't really about a golf tournament at all. It was about someone who kept showing up, who kept setting down the club and looking up and then picking it up again. In public, in private, in the cold and the heat and the aftermath of every broken thing. If this hits something real in you, if you found yourself in this story somewhere, let this be seen. Share it with someone who needs it. The quiet people, the ones with folders on their desktops they haven't opened. They'll know what this is about. The week after the Masters, Vanessa sent the first 3 chapters of her novel to a literary magazine. She's still waiting to hear back. She signed up for the tennis clinic again, and this time she went. She doesn't know where any of it leads. That's not really the point. She told me, in her own words, I wasn't watching Tiger train for the Masters. I was watching someone show me that the hardest thing, the thing that actually costs you, isn't the effort. It's the willingness to be seen struggling, to miss the shot and stand there anyway, to not hide that moment, to let it be real. That's the truth she found. Not about Tiger, about herself. There are stories that entertain, and then there are stories that find the exact thing inside you that you've been quietly carrying around, and they sit down next to it, and they stay for a while. If this channel is finding you at the right time, if these are the stories you needed to hear, then you already know what to do. This isn't about a subscribe button. It's about choosing to stay in rooms that make you feel something real. We'll be here, every week, with another story about another person watching something on a screen that ends up changing everything.